Welcome to RSAC Conference 2025. We're here recording from the Cyber Risk TV studio at the Marriott Marquis in San Francisco. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me for this interview is Thyaga Vasudevan, EVP of Product at Skyhigh Security. Welcome, Thyaga.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here.
Yeah, excited about the conversation. So congratulations to Skyhigh Security for being nominated as a finalist for I believe it was a data security?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. And it's a privilege and an honor to be nominated as a finalist in the Data Security Awards.
Yeah, so there's been a lot changing here. I think we're only a few years after we saw this consolidation into SASE, into SSE.
Yeah.
And we've just seen additional technologies that fit well into that space, right? And back when I was an analyst, I used to predict that data security would be one of the last things we would tackle in cybersecurity because it's so difficult to secure data without inserting too much friction, making it too hard for employees to use. So just in there, just talk to me a little bit about what you're doing and the SSE space.
Yep.
I know it was maybe 2 years ago that you adopted the Skyhigh Security name again. Like I covered Skyhigh Security closely when they were one of the early CASB startups.
That's correct.
When I was an industry analyst.
Yeah.
And it was fun seeing the name come back.
Yeah. Thank you, Adrian. And just as a background, I come from the Skyhigh Networks days, the original CASB market definers. But you're right, the market has indeed evolved. And Skyhigh Security, we are in the mission of empowering organizations to protect their data, regardless of wherever it is, whether it is through the web, on the cloud, or on private applications. And we do this by providing a next-generation secure web gateway, which can operate on the cloud, on premise, or in hybrid mode, and really securing your internet traffic. And then we also provide a zero trust network access solution, a ZTNA solution to protect access for your remote users accessing their private internal applications. And again, we do that by providing a zero trust solution, as in the right person, the right role has the right access to the application. And then, of course, the Cloud Access Security Broker solution, which helps you to protect your sanctioned applications, because what happens on the cloud is really blind to the proxy, right? You need to have an API-based Cloud Access Security Broker solution to do that. And we have the broadest coverage of APIs for sanctioned applications. And that also includes shadow IT security solutions. And it's really, you're seeing a new rebirth of shadow IT in the world of shadow AI.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But what's interesting, Adrian, is underneath the entire portfolio of SSE is our deep data security offering, which the DLP solution, which runs across the entire portfolio. So if it's a sensitive data, you can ensure that you build your rich classifications and data protection solutions that can protect it, whether it's getting exfiltrated by an employee inadvertently to their personal Dropbox or on OneDrive and somebody's right-clicking it and sharing it to thyaga@gmail.com. Or you're on an unmanaged device and you're downloading that onto your personal laptop from an internal application. So because it's all consistent, it's the same unified policy framework, it's very easy for customers to operationalize data protection policies across each of these control points on the edge. And we do this through a unified console, so it really reduces the cost of operationalization from an SSE solution. That, in a nutshell, is what we do, and with data being a very strong differentiator for us.
Yeah, and diving a little bit deeper into data security, I know DLP was a very important component of a CASB when they came out. They very quickly added DLP. But then we had this DSPM market.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So I think it might be useful to kind of explain some of the differences between what a data security posture management tool does versus what a more traditional DLP.
Yeah, absolutely. As a great segue into what I wanted to talk about as well, which was at RSA. We made a press release about our data security posture management offering. So data security posture management at a high level comprises of 4 main use cases.
Okay.
First of which, and I'll tell you why we feel it's a very strong adjacency to an SSE solution. The first of it is to be able to have rich classifications, to be able to identify your sensitive data. So again, as I said, we've invested heavily in building the best-in-class data classification solution, which really helps customers to identify secure your sensitive data, regardless of where it is getting exfiltrated from or where it resides. Second of it is determining activities happening on top of malicious data, sensitive data. And again, because of the richness of our CASB solution, which has a lot of user entity behavioral analytics, it can determine malicious activity or anomalous activity happening on sensitive data. So that's number 2. Number 3, where this is where the DSPM differentiation comes up, is SSE and DLP in SSE is all about detection and protection.
Right.
DSPM is a lot about compliance. So they need to be able to get a very rich view of where are all the sensitive data, which cloud applications does it have, what kind of data is there, what's the risk of this data. So that kind of a visibility dashboard is something that DSPM aspires to have. And lastly, once you determine the risk of the data, you need to be able to remediate that risk or build in policies to remediate that risk, which is again part of SSE as well. So as a result of which is a very strong adjacency. And we believe that customers who leverage our SSE solution can easily extend that to satisfy their DSPM use cases, especially in the light of so many regulatory compliance needs across different regions and different industries. Like think about the DORA framework that's coming up for financial. India has a new data protection standard, digital privacy data protection standard. And every country is coming up with data protection standard. So we believe that with our SSE and DSPM extensions, we are best equipped to serve that need.
Yeah, and in the U.S., if you look at the fines that the FTC is handing out,
that's correct.
It's all around data.
That's right. That's right.
Are you storing too much customer data? How are you protecting that data? And yeah, it makes sense. DSPM should be necessary if for the behavioral component to work.
Correct.
Because if you see a mass spike in somebody downloading that sensitive data, the very, very common behavior to look for, if an attacker steals credentials, gets in the environment, that's not necessarily that visible. You're using valid credentials. But that user's probably never tried to grab all the data all at once.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct. And again, there are other examples on the same lines is if there is a user who's downloading hundreds of files onto their personal laptop, then it might trigger an anomalous behavior. But it's also possible the user got a new laptop today. So he or she is syncing down the data. But then the user has downloaded a lot of sensitive files. And you then add in some other signals from the AD saying that the user is going to be leaving the organization. That looks like a malicious behavior of data exfiltration, insider threat kind of thing.
And it's interesting. I don't know if you do this, but I became aware the other day, somebody was talking about just looking at searches. Like what is someone searching for, and just the content of that search. Like when you see the search parameter, oftentimes just a human looking at that, like that's wrong. Like that's a problem. That's alarming.
No, I think there are a lot of signals behavioral analytics can take in. And so again, we feed in signals from all the cloud services, the sanctioned cloud services, and whether what when did somebody log in, where did they log in from, which IP address, what activities are they doing, uploads, downloads, sharing.
Is that a typical IP address? Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a typical IP
So
address
many
or not.
different
So many different, and you can say these are my typical IP address from
Right.
where I'm going to have my employees log in, and we can detect for a lot of anomalous behavior and activities happening on that sensitive data, and that can trigger an alarm.
Yeah. So I want to pivot to talking about AI. AI security as well. This is I do a lot of advisory calls for enterprises, and since ChatGPT came out, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these calls with enterprises of all sizes, all verticals.
Yeah.
And certainly, as with any new technology that comes in, visibility is often the biggest initial challenge.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what employees are using, and these new applications are popping up almost every day.
That's right.
I'm not even sure how firewall content categorization. But you have a secure web gateway, so
that's right.
I'm sure you're also kind of struggling to
Yeah.
keep up with every new AI tool that pops up, as well as the fact that existing tools suddenly have AI services. So it's not just going to chatgpt.com, but now, Copilot just exists.
That's right.
Or I use Notion a lot. One day Notion had AI.
That's right. That's
right. Appeared in the app. So, do you categorize the whole app as AI? But But yeah, certainly, I think one of the biggest concerns is, like with ChatGPT, you can upload a file.
Yep.
You can upload an Excel file, say, give me insights about the data in the spreadsheet. And there's a lot of concern about not necessarily blocking everything,
Right.
but I want to know what my employees are doing.
Yep.
Like, what are they typing into prompts? What are they trying to do with these services?
Exactly right.
And immediately thought of CASBs, of SASE, of this category. Because you're already there, you're already in line for this. So, was it when ChatGPT came out in 2021? Was it kind of a no-brainer that you would be able to provide this?
Yeah, absolutely, Adrian. And again, AI security is such a important need for today's enterprise. And as you rightly said, it starts with visibility into all the different AI tools or AI applications being used within my enterprise, and what's the risk of those applications. And again, that's probably the fastest growing category of the kind of applications is AI.
Yeah.
And really, customers are looking for what is the risk of these applications. And when I say risk, it's not just about just regular service risk, which our registry, obviously, CASB registry can provide as part of Shadow IT.
Right.
But we've taken it one step further. What we now identify is also what LLMs do these applications use. And as part of these, we identify the risk of these LLMs. And what I mean by that is you can identify that this LLM has a very high risk of jailbreaking or toxicity or bias or malware.
The AI safety side of things.
Exactly. And one is the visibility, which we also always believe it's a shock and awe. But then what can you do with that? Now, the customers can then use those controls, those signals, and create zero trust policies based on that. So as an example, they could create policies like if these users from this AD group are accessing these set of AI applications which have high risk of toxicity, then route them, don't block it.
Exactly. I was going to ask that.
Don't block it, but move them over to a browser isolation session so that they can touch, they can feel, but nothing gets downloaded kind of thing. That's a lot of options that they have. So that's one. But then we've also now seen...
I just want to drop in, I love this shift from, 404, you can't, or 403, not authorized.
That's right.
You can't access it.
That's right.
It's instead of a no coming from cybersecurity,
Correct.
It's a no, but.
No, but.
No, you can't use that. But we do have Claude Enterprise.
Exactly.
Here's the authorized
That's
solution.
right. So the no but we try to do two things. One is the one that you just said, which we call coaching, which is, hey, you're not allowed to use this, but you can use a Microsoft Copilot Enterprise that we have.
We already pay for it.
We already pay for it. People have started to use ChatGPT Enterprise, believe it or not. And so that's also possible. But sometimes they want to allow ChatGPT to be used as an example. So the biggest concern in shadow applications is they don't want any kind of training happening on the data. So we've been able to, very uniquely identify that this application is going to be training on the data, on the files, or the prompt, and you can actually turn off the training. And there are options in ChatGPT options, so we can turn it off. So instead of the user going and turning it off, we as in the policy can actually, because it's inline, right? It's a proxy. But coming back to sanctioned applications, so Microsoft Copilot, one of the fastest growing applications with an enterprise, inherently comes with a lot of security challenges, because the moment you turn it on, it's going to index all your data in OneDrive, SharePoint, Exchange, Teams, and regardless of whether it's sensitive or not sensitive. The first order of business for customers is to say, hey, if it is sensitive, don't put it through this LLM at all.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? So you've got to build
data labeling, right?
There you go. So you need to be able to filter out sensitive data from that. Second part of it is, how do you protect the data that's going in? So it's via DLP through upload files, or now it's through prompts.
Yeah.
So anything I'm entering, I can cut and paste a sensitive document into a prompt. I should be able to identify it's sensitive because we've done fingerprinting of the document.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I can prevent that from getting uploaded.
So even portions of the document.
Exactly, even portions of the document. The last piece of it is, which is where a lot of innovation is going on, is it's nothing malicious about the data. But the way LLMs are reacting to my prompts, it either means the LLM has been compromised. There's a prompt injection attack going on, or the data is being poisoned. So how do you identify that? And then if you identify that, then you need to be able to block, prevent that prompt from coming out.
Right.
So those are the areas we're investing very heavily. By the way, we also made an announcement at RSA about our AI security as well. Because again, these are all extensions of our SSE platform.
Yeah. So just before we wrap, a couple other quick questions there. Like I imagine you're looking for common jailbreak techniques, like ignore all previous instructions.
That's right.
Those kinds of things, and you can maybe block that. And then on the data labeling piece, are you leveraging Purview that's already there with Copilot, or do you have your own ability to?
Both.
Yeah.
So if customers have their own data classification systems, whether Microsoft, MIP, if you put your labels in MIP, or if you're using any third-party labeling system, or you can classify using our own out-of-the-box classifications, we can use whatever customers prefer. And we've now given them very automatic or ML-based ways to classify the data. You don't even need to go and build data identifiers, etc. You can just leverage a lot of auto-classification techniques based on machine learning to say, oh, this kind of a document is of type PII and it's a passport document, etc. And then you can classify and use those classifications.
All right. Wonderful stuff. Thanks again for joining me today. Love the conversation, learned a couple things. I always love it when I learn things during these conversations. And once again, congratulations to Skyhigh Security for being nominated as a Best Data Security Solution finalist in the 2025 SE Awards.
Thank you, Adrian. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks once again for the awards.